You're listening to an episode of the Break the Cycle podcast on the SVTV network. Hi guys, this is episode 3 of the Break the Cycle podcast. I took some of your feedback. I've decided to make the podcast a little shorter and I've tried to make it a little more actionable with the insights. It's still going to keep the personal conversations, but we're going to try and give you certain takeaways that you can use to finally break whatever cycle it is that you're trying to break. My guest today is Rajneesh Raveendran. He's a martial artist, a former amateur fighter and professional prospect. He's also a triathlete, and he's helped me figure a lot of things out with respect to my mindset. He's helped me up my game with respect to my own training in martial arts. Today we're going to talk about breaking the cycle of mediocrity. I do hope that you enjoy the episode. And as always, your feedback is something that I really look forward to, and I take it very seriously. So do let me know what you think about the episode. If there's anything you want us to change, we're doing this as we go along. Yeah, I hope you enjoy. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Break the Cycle. I have a very special guest with me today. This is Rajneesh Raveendran. He is my boxing coach, the man who, apart from my teacher, who I shall bring on the podcast shortly, is the other person who kicks my ass on a regular basis.
I punch.
And that. You'll notice a little bit of a change in the format. We're going to try and keep this very pointed. So I hope you enjoy. What's up, coach?
All good?
All good?
Yep.
All right, we're going to start right off the bat. I would like you to introduce yourself to the audience. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background?
Right. My name is Rajneesh and I've been practicing various martial arts for the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I started with Taekwondo. I took some classes in school and I fell in love with it. And I moved on to boxing, and in the same facility we had judo, taekwondo, and then as I grew older I wanted to become a professional fighter, so I started doing jiu-jitsu, wrestling, Muay Thai. Unfortunately there was a lack of opportunities in Delhi or in India when I was at my peak, so I suffered a few injuries also, so I had to let that dream go and pursue the second best option, which is training. And initially it was part-time training. I was a full-time travel agent and I would coach people in my free time, and then over time it had a detrimental effect on my health because I wasn't getting enough rest.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to leave one thing and do the other one full-time. So I left my job and I started working full-time as a coach, and it took a while, but it picked up over the years.
Right. I want to deep dive into the bit that you mentioned. You wanted to be a professional fighter.
Yeah.
What brought that on? Like, what made you want to compete?
I honestly believed I was very good.
Mhm.
When I was like 15, 16, I in my head I was an Olympian. I knew that I was going to win the Olympic gold medal. So that's the thought process you have when you're young and you're performing at a high level and you have all these people, and I believe that I could be that person. But then talent alone or skill alone is not the judge, or it's not only the talent that takes you places. You need to have the right support system.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I didn't do well is because I didn't have any support
Mm-hmm.
from my family, because in the Indian household, especially in a South Indian household, boxing or any kind of a contact sport is not something. It's not a very lucrative career option.
Mm-hmm.
So the parents don't really support it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't blame them, because it's a contact sport. You come back home with a bloody nose or a concussion. It's difficult to see your child in pain all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but then it's a small price to pay.
Mm-hmm.
This sport requires that sacrifice, and I don't think the Indian parents are ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
We're too soft. I feel that the attitude towards martial arts, it needs to change for
Mhm.
us to do well. But yeah, so these. I mean, at that time, I thought I was gonna be a world champion, an Olympian,
Mm-hmm.
and when that didn't come, that didn't happen. I didn't get selected for my trials.
Mm-hmm.
So every setback changes your goal.
Right.
It changes. You're like, okay, I didn't make it to the trials. I didn't go to the nationals. What do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
What's the next best thing? Do I try again?
Yeah.
Well, I did try again. Didn't go through again. But what's the next option?
Mm-hmm.
So you think about professional fighting,
Mm-hmm.
where you don't have so many fights for a medal, so such a comprehensive screening process.
Mm-hmm.
So in pro fighting, you can just put on a good show, and then you can make a name for yourself.
Right.
So that was the plan. There was no pro boxing in India at that time.
Mm-hmm.
There was this small MMA league,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew a few fighters who were training in a nearby akhada. So I went there. I
Mhm.
started training with them. I thought it would increase my chances of, fighting in that organization.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, they just stopped their operations. And during my training phase, I was doing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a lot, and I was abusing my body.
What do you mean by a lot? Like, what
I
all
was
were you?
I was getting 4 hours of sleep. I was getting 2 meals a
Ooh.
day. I couldn't afford supplements, so I was not really, maintaining my calorie intake or
Uh-huh.
my protein intake.
Yeah.
I was damaging my body. It was all. I was like, the more I do it, the better I will get. The
Mhm.
faster I will become.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a constant quest for becoming Citius, Altius, Fortius, but I wasn't paying attention to the signs that my body was giving me.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to explain Citius, Fortius,
Yeah, so it's the motto for the Olympics. Citius means swifter, Altius means higher, and Fortius means stronger.
Uh-huh.
So that's my goal for life. Like, I want to be better. Like, I want to push it as far as I can go.
Mm-hmm.
But in this process, I was naive. I didn't pay attention to my body breaking down. I was working too much,
Mm-hmm.
not enough rest, not enough nutrition. And then I suffered a few seizures.
Seizures.
Yeah, so for those who don't know what it is, a seizure is a reboot of your brain. Your brain shuts down temporarily, and then it comes back up. You have no memory of what happened. And
How'd that happen?
a lot of contributing factors: no sleep, no nutrition, head trauma, main
Uh-huh.
reason. Every time you get a concussion,
Yeah.
and this is for any fighter who is listening to this, every time you get a concussion, you have to take it seriously. Don't spar every day, and do not spar without headgear. It's not an ego thing. It's gonna help you in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain doesn't have muscles to protect it. The brain is a very delicate organ. If you suffer a concussion, you're losing neurons. Nerve cells are damaged permanently.
Mm-hmm.
They will not heal. So you have to prevent that at any cost. So that's I suffered a seizure. That was the end of my professional career pursuit. I was like, the doctor said, if you get hit again, you will suffer again. It might lead to a stroke also. So that was the end for it. And then I just devoted my time and energy into coaching full time, and here I am.
Right. Now, I've spent some time training with you, but one thing I have noticed about you specifically is that competitive mindset hasn't gone. Like, I've met a couple of coaches. I've had the fortune of meeting such coaches who have that competitive mindset still. But there are quite a few who kind of lose that bit. And it's not about coaches per se. It's about anyone who has built that sort of the unbreakable mindset, as we call it.
Yeah.
So how do you manage to kind of stick with it and develop that even after the loss of the professional journey?
Yeah, so that animal is still there somewhere, sleeping inside me. That guy is not satisfied. So that dog, that wild dog, is still there, and you need that dog to be able to fight. It's the hurt business. it's not for the soft. It's for tough people, and it stays with you. So that dream is unfulfilled, but that animal is still there, somewhere lurking inside my brain. I'm like, I have to stop it because I don't want to. I don't want to scare people with the consequences, but I don't want to be wheelchair bound and eating through a straw. But that's what can happen if you don't take brain injury seriously. So the competitiveness is there because that athlete is still there. I train, I coach with that mindset only. I don't, everything that I teach has some foundation, has some application in the ring also. I don't, my subject matter is not hypothetical. It's tried and tested and used techniques that I have seen somebody else apply or I have applied myself. So, it's still there somewhere. I would like to compete someday if I can, without killing myself in the process. But there's too much at stake now. Parents, I have a girlfriend now, you know it. I plan to marry her, so I can't put these people through all that pain if something happens to me, which is a very, it's possible. Okay, no matter how good you are, you will take some blows, and those blows can be the deciding factor.
Right.
It's not getting pummeled that can cause brain damage. Even that the tiny jab or a small kick or anything can lead to a
that
reboot.
punch you don't see.
It's the punch you don't see. It's not the hardest punch, but it's an occupational hazard. You have to accept it.
Right.
And once you get a seizure, you're at a higher risk of getting another one. And I'm not on medication right now. I was on preventive medication, but touch wood, I'm not on any medication. I have an SOS spray. If I experience an onset, I can use it. It'll stop it. But I haven't used it in the last 3 years. Nothing has happened so far, and I've been running, I've been training, I've been doing all kinds of stuff. Nothing has happened so far. So fighting, I'll take. I need to let it go, and maybe live through one of my students. That's why I keep saying fight. You got if you want to do it.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, it's not you who's fighting, it's me. So when you fight, I see myself. And so that's how I train you. That's the competitive mindset. Like, I don't train people, I fight with them. When I'm holding mitts for you, or when I'm training with you and I'm coaching you, I'm fighting with you. And you can see that because, you kicked me in the mouth, right? And
I did not kick you intentionally. You hide that.
Exactly. And that happens with everybody. They punch me in the face, they punch me in the stomach. It happens with everybody. But I don't feel the pain.
Right.
Because I'm in a zone where I'm competing, or when I'm fighting with them, not to dominate them, but to uplift them.
Yeah.
So that is, I think that's how I teach. That's how I, express myself as a coach. I'm not competitive, but I want to compete with you. Because that'll help you.
Right.
When you're coaching, your ego has to take a back seat, and you can't suppress your student or your client because you want them to improve.
Right.
So I don't go all out with anyone unless I know that person can take it.
Right.
If I go all out, that means I have full faith in your skill, that you'll be able to handle it. And if you can, that's the best thing that can happen to me. Because I've created a fighter that can take the worst that I have to give. So that's the ultimate goal.
Right. This brings me to the other bit that you've gotten into right now. So apart from coaching, you also took this inkling towards, well, it started with running, then you went on to swimming, and suddenly cycling, and the next thing I know, you've decided to compete in a triathlon.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
So last year in December, I had a severe shoulder injury. Uh, well, it was. I was like very close to getting a surgery done, but a surgery would have meant a year off
Right.
with rehab and recovery and everything. So
Uh-huh.
they put me on a sling and they did something to my shoulder. Not a surgery, but an injection into the joint. And uh, in the recovery phase, I gained a lot of weight.
Uh-huh.
And when I wanted to get rid of that weight, I thought about the various activities I could do
Mm-hmm.
to reduce the bulk,
Mm-hmm.
and running was the easiest thing.
Right.
It was not doing anything negative to my shoulder, so it was primarily lower body. So I started running 5k, 3ks, 5ks, 10ks easy, and then Instagram knew that I was running, so they showed me a post with Milind Soman completing the Ironman at the age of 50. So I have to thank Instagram for that because I didn't know that Milind Soman competed in the Ironman and he finished it at the age of 50, and that was the moment for me. A switch went on, and I have to do this. I have to do this, and I don't know how to swim, so I learned swimming this year. Like in 2019, I learned swimming, and then I competed in these races. That's a good goal to have.
Right.
I mean, if I've always wondered if I would be able to punch when I'm 40 or 45 with this, level of command or speed or power. But these things, swimming, running, cycling, when I saw that article, I was like, I can do this till I'm 50.
Uh-huh.
That's amazing. I should do this. And because boxing had to take a backseat because of my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of damage I broke my collarbone twice, and then the shoulder is not the same since then.
Mhm.
So it has to. I had to reduce the boxing training quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and the next best option was this Ironman. And with me, whenever I pick up a task, I go all out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do it half-heartedly. So I got a coach. I planned a few races. 2019 did well,
Mm-hmm.
and the goal for 2020 is the Goa Ironman and maybe another triathlon.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, the full triathlon, the full Olympic length triathlon is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll see what's next. So this is not a phase.
Uh-huh.
This has become an obsession.
Uh-huh.
Every time I run, I want to run faster. Every time I ride my bike, I want to generate more power, more watts.
Uh-huh.
Because that's Citius, Altius, Fortius. That's what it is. That's how I live my life.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Yeah. So I when I do my weight training also, I don't want to lift basic weights. I want to lift respectable weights. I want to lift more than my body weight. It's just a state of mind that you want to challenge yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You should not be okay with mediocrity. You should be, I mean, whatever I'm doing is below average for some. It might be above average for some.
Mm-hmm.
It might be amazing for some.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, it's me, right? I have to challenge myself. It has to be challenging for me. Otherwise, it's not worth my time.
Right.
So that's how I train every day. That's how I plan to train for the rest of my life. Also, hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
if things go according to plan. Yeah.
I want you to touch upon that mindset, the mindset that you still have of going further and further and further.
Yes.
Because a lot of us, I mean, I know that you mentioned that you need to be aware of mediocrity,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people kind of tend to believe or are told or whatever situation they encounter that they can't go beyond a point, or they can't do something, or they are going to get hurt. How does one overcome that that mental barrier of maybe I can't do this, or maybe this is, maybe I'm not good enough to do this?
See,
Or rather, let me rephrase that. If you were to have, because you are a coach, right? If you were to have a student who wants to compete in a triathlon or wants to go for a fight, do something like that, but has but has that doubt, what are the steps you would probably take that person through?
I'll first build the skill.
Mm-hmm.
Doubts come when there is lack of preparation.
Right.
That's what I feel.
Uh-huh.
Think of it as a math test. If you have not studied or if you're not prepared well, you'll have doubts whether I clear it or not.
Right.
Any test.
Uh-huh.
So if you study well, you'll be confident.
Right.
You would still not know the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know the questions that will be there in the exam, but you will be confident that I'm ready, I'm prepared.
Right.
So I'll prepare that person first.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll put him in the test,
Mm-hmm.
him or her.
Mm-hmm.
Under pressure, your ability to perform decides where you go with your
Right.
skill.
Mm-hmm.
So if you perform well under pressure, the sky is the limit for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you crumble under pressure, you need more preparation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And more preparation means more time, more dedication. You have to be committed towards progressing.
Right.
If you can do that, you won't have any doubts. I don't think you'll have any doubts. If you're prepared, if you give it time, you'll be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
It's no rocket science, yeah. If you give it time, if you're prepared, you'll be confident.
Right.
Doubts come when you do things half-heartedly, when you
Mm-hmm.
don't give it time, when you're not committed, when you're cheating.
Mm-hmm.
You're not cheating anyone else. You're cheating yourself.
Right.
That's how the doubts come in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I keep telling you, no matter who you fight, just be a handful.
Right.
That's the kind of confidence that I want.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of confidence that I give everyone I coach, especially the professional guys, that no matter who you fight, someday it might not be your day. You might lose a fight, you might win some,
Mm-hmm.
you might get knocked out, but no matter who you fight, just give them hell.
Mm-hmm.
They should know your name.
Right.
They should know who they fought. So just give it your all.
Mm-hmm.
Give it your everything. Just give them a fight they'll never forget.
This holds true for like yourself as well, right?
Exactly.
It's not just sport. Like even
Everything.
if you're at work or you're learning something new.
Exactly. Yeah, everything. Give it everything. Otherwise, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of doing things? We have limited time.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has limited time on this rock floating around in the space. And what we do with it, you have to give something out, some positive energy out in the universe.
Right.
That's what I feel. Prize fighting is not a civil profession. It's frowned upon in different cultures, but those guys understand the risks involved.
Right.
If I didn't have brain damage, I would do it.
Yeah.
I would not change anything. If I had better equipment, better support system when I was young, when I was suffering these injuries, I would have been at another level. I don't regret anything.
Mm-hmm.
It has turned me into a very good coach,
Mm-hmm.
which is the next best thing. I'm still associated with my profession.
Mm-hmm.
My passion for boxing is still the same.
Right.
But I would not change anything. Apart from the recklessness,
Uh-huh.
I would not change anything. The struggles that I've gone through,
Mm-hmm.
they change you. They create who you are. They create the blueprint of how you conduct yourself as an adult,
Right.
which is very important.
Mm-hmm.
So
So I'm just gonna recap. You're saying that whatever it may be, not just related to fighting.
mhm.
So first step, acquire the skill,
Of course,
or
educate yourself.
educate yourself.
Yeah.
And then apply it,
Exactly.
and
Test.
then review.
Test it.
Yeah.
And see how you perform. And so, simple example: if you were to do, let's say, 10 push-ups,
Mm-hmm.
for somebody who's unfit, it would be a challenge.
Right.
But once you achieve 10,
Mhm.
what do you look at? Do you still look at 10, or do you look at a guy who's doing 50?
Mm.
If you still look at 10, that's not the right mindset.
Right.
You need to grow.
Mm-hmm.
The human body adapts very quickly. The
Right.
mind also.
Mhm.
The more you challenge it, the faster you'll learn.
Right.
The better you'll become over time.
Mhm.
So over time is the crucial word here, because you have to give every skill time.
Right.
The more time you give it, the better you'll get. People expect too much too soon.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work like that.
Right.
You have to develop instinct, especially in fighting.
Mm-hmm.
You have to cut the time that's required between the eyes, the vision to go into the brain and process and firing your muscles. You have to cut that time down so that you can react in time and defend yourself and attack.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes time. Everything takes time, and you need to be committed towards a goal.
Right.
Have realistic expectations. Have a proper plan to achieve those expectations,
Mm-hmm.
and keep pushing yourself. That's the only thing that I can tell anyone.
Right.
Don't look at anyone else. Just yourself. Like, I can do better. I can do better. Even if you can't, even if you've plateaued, just put in the time. Maybe you'll learn something else.
Right.
I'm not a great swimmer. I'm not a great cyclist, but I keep pushing myself. Whatever my coach gives me, I keep pushing myself. My numbers are not phenomenal, but they're improving.
Right.
They are improving. My running pace is not amazing, not world record breaking, but it's improving. For me, that is more than enough.
Right.
For me, breaking my own barriers is good enough.
Right.
Because I'm not competing against anyone. I'm just trying to see how far I can go with this.
Right.
How well I can do this. So that's the objective.
Right. That's how you deal with a setback as well, right? Because what ends up happening is, even though you are highly motivated and you are going with the, all right, I'm going to move beyond this barrier and this barrier and this barrier. You see the momentum and you move forward and you stack up the wins. But what happens when you hit that barrier which is a little too hard for that level? You suffer a loss, or you plan something and that failed.
And that's the best thing. That's the best thing, because you learn more from a loss than from a victory. If you lose at your peak, at your best, if somebody tags you and if you lose, or if you lose if somebody scores better than you in a test, when you have completely, you've prepared well, that means there is scope of improvement.
Right.
That means you need to evaluate how you performed and how you got outclassed or outpointed, and that's the best thing to do. If you lose a fight, if you at the peak of your preparation with a proper camp and everything, if you lose a bout, there are two ways to approach the loss. One is the demotivated side. How can I lose? That ego thing.
Yeah.
That's what happened with me when I first lost my fight against a guy who was smaller than me. I never forget that guy. I have nothing but respect for that person. He was shorter than me, and I completely ignored him.
Right.
I completely I looked over him. I was like, this is an easy one, but it wasn't. He came prepared to fight, and that's what it was. And he taught me a very beautiful punch also that I still use. And so initially, I was young. I experienced a loss, and I couldn't sleep. I was like, how can I lose? I thought I was unbeatable.
Right.
That's not the case. Everybody is beatable. It depends how the best fighter on the planet will be beaten by some guy at some time. Even in training or in sparring, they get tagged, they get knocked out. It's just you just have to be ready for everything.
Right.
And you have to take the loss for what it is. It's a lesson. It's not a loss. They have not taken anything from you.
Right.
They have just given you a lesson. Right. If you're arrogant about it, that no, this was, if you try to give excuses and you're like, I was not ready, or I had suffered an injury or anything, it's you're cheating yourself.
Right.
Take it for what it is. It's a lesson. And work on your flaws, work on your game, refine it. If you experience 10 losses in a row, there are 10 different things that they might have exploited. If they're exploiting the same weakness, that means you have not improved. You have not changed. You have not evolved. If they're exploiting 10 different things, there are 10 less areas of improvement for you.
Right.
Over time, the more losses you have, the less areas of improvement you have, right? And towards the end, in the end, you become unbeatable.
Right.
In time, right? If time is with you, you will become unbeatable. You will not have any holes in your game. So that's what happens in training also. You try to exploit the weaknesses, so that when you're sparring, you try to exploit the weak parts, and so that those don't show up when you fight. That's the goal.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
That's some really stackable, actionable info, coach.
Yeah, it should. I mean, it should help somebody. Yeah, it's this so much. I see these kids in the stadium. I went to Bhiwani also. They're just grinding themselves to a pulp, and There is no shortage of effort. There is no shortage of the drive. There are thousands of kids who work their asses off every single day
Right.
with one dream to become an Olympian. But they don't have the support system. It's not just talent. It's not just the drive. There's a lot of other things also. The it's sad, but it's the bitter truth. Talent alone won't get you places, and talent is, I think, it's a myth. It's not. It's just nonsense. I mean, I had asthma as a kid. You suffer from asthma right now.
Yeah.
And for somebody to say that, oh, he's talented, that's why he's doing it, it's just nonsense. It's an excuse.
Right.
We are all born with the same hardware. It's the software you program over the years. People, if somebody writes somebody off, oh, he's talented, he can do it. It's nonsense. It's bullshit. You have the same limbs, you have the same lungs, you have the same internal organs. It's the brain, it's your thought process, it's the software that needs to be programmed. My software is different from yours.
Right.
Hardware is the same. I've trained the hardware, I've improved the hardware over time, I've upgraded it over time. I've suffered damage also, but the software keeps getting better and better with every update.
Right.
And a loss is an update for me. I need to change things. A bad race or a bad workout is an update for me. I need to improve my nutrition, my sleep, whatever. So that's what I think about talent. It's a myth. It's an excuse.
So how did these guys break out of that excuse then? Like for someone who's really just starting out and who believes that they're not talented enough, or forget that, they're not talented. They don't have.
How do you know you're not talented?
It's an assumption.
But how? Without giving yourself the knowledge or the time to acquire skills, how do you know that you're not talented? Right? So that period, that incubation period where you're acquiring skills and absorbing information, that is important. Right? I can tell you that practice 2 techniques for 3 months, or I can involve you in techniques and you will learn them subconsciously. There are 2 ways to coach. Right? So if I tell you something, you'll forget. If I teach you something, you might remember. But if I involve you, you'll understand. That's my philosophy about coaching. So I try to involve the other person. I tell you not to think. I'm sorry, I'm going too much about myself because I can only share what I have done in my life. This is not coming from a book. This is from my life. So I tell you not to think. And that improves your performance to some extent. You're not thinking, you're not hesitating. You're trying to act. You're trying to react also. So that is the best way to approach any challenge. You just put yourself into the system, absorb whatever you can, give it time. Talent is, you look at these fighters, look at Michael Bisping. He's not talented. He's just a tough geezer. He's just a tough guy who's just Cain Velasquez. No talent there. Wrestling pedigree, yes, but where is the talent? He's a short heavyweight. Tyson, just brutal domination against mediocre opposition. He lost. Buster Douglas, Holyfield, he lost. Anyone who knew how to box, he lost. But again, it's not. I mean, you have to exploit yourself to figure out what talent you have. Everybody is talented in a different way. Some people are mentally superior. Some people are physically superior. Some people have faster, head movement or fast hands or fast legs. Everybody has something, but you have to refine it. Those who don't have anything, you can create a game that helps you. Right? You can nullify the other person's game by applying different strategies. It's possible. We have seen it in the past. We have seen it in these big fights. You don't have to engage all the time. You don't have to be the fastest, strongest, hardest hitting guy. You just have to be a smart fighter. You just need to use whatever you have in a smarter way. The Art of War says you apply whatever you have, you apply it in a smart way. And you create an illusion of invincibility. That's what makes a complete fighter. So again, for you to for anyone to say that I'm not talented, it's an easy way out. It's an excuse. I think it's an excuse. Yeah, they're not committed enough to put in the effort or the time to see the results, to see whether they have the attributes required for the game or not.
Right.
You have to give it time and see how you evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that time, it's different for different body types.
Right.
For you, it might be 6 months. For me, it might be 1 year.
Right.
So for somebody who's like 15, 16, it might be 2 months. It depends. But you have to give it time to for your body to absorb all the information and then give out and express itself.
Right.
When you're in that situation. So that's why martial arts, they call it an art.
Right.
Because you express, you take all those techniques, you absorb them, you understand them, and then you express yourself with your art.
Right.
That's it. We can keep going on this subject. It's a vast...
Right, coach. That brings me to my second last question. It's a two-parter.
Yeah.
So very quickly, because I want to give these guys resources on how to how to get started with maybe building their mindset, and how to get started with also priming their hardware. Because you spoke about hardware and software.
Yeah.
Any book, any recommendations, anything that they can find to start preparing their hardware and software.
Right. So
not necessarily for a fight, but anything.
Anything, yeah. So software, I would say you can read the Book of Five Rings. It's by Miyamoto Musashi. It's strategy.
Right.
It's the power of the mind. It's then you can read The Art of War by Sun Tzu. That's for the software. Hardware, just start. Yeah, just look at. There is so much inspiration around. David Goggins, that guy. I mean, he was a fat, unhealthy, unfit individual. Now he's running. He's an inspiration for everybody. Look around you. There are so many people. There are all kinds of. There's one. There is everywhere in every field you'll have these exceptional individuals who are outperforming everybody with their challenges, and that's how you program. You have to. I mean, just don't be satisfied with mediocrity.
Right.
Just break that cycle of mediocrity. That's what I would say. The day you are not satisfied with yourself, not because you're comparing yourself to somebody else, the day that you're not satisfied with your level of fitness or your financial status or your academic status, the day you think that this is not enough, I need to get better, that's when you will put in the effort. Right. And it's not a temporary thing. It has to be a permanent a goal that I have to get better, because it's not going to happen over time. It'll take 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It doesn't matter. As long as you have a target or a goal, you will find a way to work towards it. If you are okay with what you're doing, which is what we are, pushed to believe, that it's fine not to be, fit. It's fine. It's okay. We call these people haters. It's they don't look at themselves and they're like, why are you posting these videos? What are you trying to show? I'm not trying to show off. I'm not a fighter. I'm just trying to showcase what this beautiful art does. I'm trying to express myself with boxing, with kickboxing. I'm not trying to show off. I look the way I look because I eat right and I exercise.
Right.
I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm an athlete. I look like an athlete. So it's not showing off. I'm just putting stuff out there for people to, to understand, like, okay, maybe we can do it like this. There are different ways to express yourself. It's an expression only.
Right.
So yeah, that's keep
right, coach. The last question.
Yes.
Where can these people reach out to you?
I'm available at Boxyopath on Instagram, and if anyone wants to get in touch with me personally, you can email me at coachrajneesh@gmail.com. or they can get in touch with you. We
Uh-huh.
see each other
Right.
every week, so yeah, that's about it. And I'm easily approachable. I might not look approachable, but if you ask me a question, I'll answer.
You wear a panda cap.
I
You're
do.
pretty approachable.
Yes, I wear a panda.
Aw.
It's warm.
Really?
It's warm.
Yeah.
It's very
You
warm.
wear a panda cap and you go smash.
It's yeah, because Khabib has a bear hat, no? So I,
Okay. Right.
that's Khabib Subramaniam.
Well, fuck. Thanks, coach.
You're welcome.
This has been
Thanks
a
for having
great
me.
conversation. Alright, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. This is very, very, very actionable, very tactical information for you to start taking action towards just changing your mindset a little bit towards reaching after your goals if you want, or going after a physical fitness goal if you want. If you have any feedback, we in fact really want to hear from you. You can reach out to me on my email, which is aadharmalhotra@gmail.com. You can even message me on Instagram at aadharmalhotra. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks a ton for joining. We'll see you next time. You're listening to an episode of the Break the Cycle podcast on the SVTV network.